Howdy hey, howdy ho. Happy Monday morning, you guys. This is Caleb. This is your Monday morning encouragement. Hi friends, happy Monday morning. I wanted to take this opportunity to share with you what it is that we heard in the service yesterday, during the sermon yesterday. The sermon was given by a member of our congregation named Jim Gaston. He's a great guy. If you haven't met him yet, seriously, go up to him and say hey sometime. He's a great dude. But he shared with us Paul's words to the church in Philippi from Philippians chapter 1. Now, here's the deal. Sometimes we think that when we're reading the Bible that the apostles and the disciples and the people who are writing the Bible have their life all together, that they're all hunky-dory and that things are all good for them. That is far from the case. When Paul is writing this letter to the church in Philippi, he's actually in prison. He's in jail. He's been locked up for sharing the gospel with other people, for sharing Jesus with other people. And so he's in a really rough place, right? And so they've locked him up. And here's what he has to say in Philippians chapter 1. I want you to know, beloved, that what has happened to me has actually helped to spread the gospel so that it has become known throughout the whole imperial guard and to everyone else that my imprisonment is for Christ. And most of the brothers and sisters, having been made confident in the Lord by my imprisonment, dare to speak the word with greater boldness and without fear. Whoo, man almighty. Here Paul is. He's in one of his lowest moments. He's sitting in a prison cell. He's rotting in a Roman prison. And he is excited. He has joy that the ministry is continuing. There are people who are coming to know Jesus and who are growing in their faith because of Paul's suffering, because of the suffering that he is enduring. Paul found joy in the midst of his sorrow. And here's what Jim shared with us yesterday. Paul saw his temporary problem being a part of the greater story that God had. The temporary problem was part of the bigger story that God had. You know, sometimes when we're in the midst of suffering and we're going through hard times, man, that can be really rough. And it can be really hard to see just how God is working or how God is being glorified through the midst of all of that. And maybe we'll never know. Maybe we'll never know how God is working through that suffering. Here's what we can be assured of, though. My friends, we can rest in the fact that God has a greater story, that God has a greater plan for our lives. Our suffering on earth is temporary. There's an end date to our suffering. God's grace and God's love and God's resolve is permanent. It's eternal. There is no end date to that. My friends, as we go through life together, as we experience joy and as we experience sorrow, times of plenty and times of loss, my encouragement to you is this. Like the church in Philippi, would we come alongside each other, love one another, and rejoice in the resurrection of Christ together? We can take solace in the fact that God has a greater plan in store for us. And it's okay to grieve. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel sorrow. It's okay to be sad, to be angry, and to suffer. And this is what being the church is all about. It's coming alongside your neighbor, coming alongside your friends and your family and your community as they go through those emotions, as they go through that suffering, loving them and encouraging them, coming alongside them in their life through the good and through the bad. That's my encouragement for you guys. Find the people in your community who you can love, who you can lend a shoulder to, who you can cry with, who you can rejoice with. And do that all day, every day. That's my encouragement this week. Love you guys a ton. We'll see you later this week.